and this is Gina, PsychPRN. Welcome to my channel where I talk about everything and anything mental health, where I talk about mental health issues and also education topics and self-improvement. Today, I'm jumping off on a video that I just recently uploaded and continuing to talk about toxic nostalgia. So what's nostalgia? Nostalgia is where if you had a difficult experience, relationship, whether it's a home environment, parent, child, family, work relationship, friendships as well, or romantic relationships where it was really difficult and having really difficult time moving on, or having really tough time moving past it, past the experience. So toxic nostalgia is good. So we all do it where, there are many times where I'll, get into talking with a friend or whatever, talk about, oh, hey, all times I remember how when high school and how in elementary school, remember how we used to do this and that, or play this game or the other. Remember how we used to sneak out this until my never snuck out anyway, but just saying things like that. Remember how, you were first dating your first boyfriend and X, Y, Z, things like that. Nostalgia. So in toxic, difficult relationship, you can have nostalgia like that too. Remember the time where we traveled to Las Vegas, right? Or we traveled to wherever, went to Greece, went to Europe, just giving an example. Or maybe places on my bucket list I need to go to. But anyway, just start thinking about those times. But the thing that you fail to realize it, even when you were on that trip to Italy, right? And you're ruminating or having nostalgia on that trip, you forget that most of that trip was you and your partner, you and your friend, you and your parent getting into fights. It wasn't coordinated. It wasn't planned. Nothing really was accomplished. You went there and came back more exhausted than you were. So toxic nostalgia is hanging on to quote unquote good memories, and refusing to really focus on really the bad, not feel good when moments where the person really treated you bad, whether it's a friend, whether it's a boss, a parent, a sibling, a romantic partner. And you're trying to hang on to that relationship at all costs and only focusing on those pecks of quote unquote good memories. So that's a trauma bonding response where it's hard to move on or make a decisive decision to move on, move past a thing that should have been expired a long time ago. We all do it, especially with where the culture where myself come from, especially being African descent, not to say translate beyond my culture, really. I have a lot of patients who struggle with this. I have a lot of patients who they're in a sandwich generation where they're still taking care of their parents. And if your parents, maybe you really didn't have a really great relationship with them growing up, or they were abusive or neglectful, and they were not even there, right? There's some parents who really maybe just took off, were not there, were in and out a lot, were not consistent with your, childhood. And all of a sudden you find yourself having to take care of them. They're older, they have dementia, they have memory problems, they're sick, or they have a lot of medical issues. And you as a child, especially with the culture where we are, we don't really find a lot of, people of color truly in the nursing homes or whatever. Or in my culture, where I come from, Africa, is almost like you have to honor your parents type of thing. And you have to have them be maybe in your home, and you're maybe primary in taking care of that parent who's getting older, has a lot of issues. And now that triggers start to bubble up and really can cause a lot of issues. And when you're not in the place where maybe you can hire help, or there's a lot of shame even or associated with getting help like that. The typical culture of mine can't even have shaming around that. Like, oh my God, you can't even make time to take care of your parent, things like that. So a lot of shaming around that. So that's toxic nostalgia, and really makes, relationships, boundary setting a little tough, because you only focus on specs and almost dissociate from what the reality is. There was a saying that goes like, when you refuse to accept what truly is the reality, to go past it and focusing on what it could be or what it could have been, or dissociating to look at it in a way, it's a survival mechanism, truly. So continue to remember memories in that relationship that felt good, maybe in the aspects. Anxious about fixing it. So if your parents or romantic relationship, like you're constantly anxious about trying all kinds of ways to get it back to how you feel like it should be like in your head. I've been there. Fixing, being rigid about change, hard to pivot is another way to have toxic, people who have toxic nostalgia. Can we say that way? Always recounting the good times. I think I mentioned that already. And this can also lead to a huge impact on sleep, because you're constantly anxious. That's my second point. Because you have that rigid mindset, can't think in the black and white, can't move forward, can't move past. Yes, a little moment of thoughts of dysregulation about whatever the matter could be, it's okay, because in our culture, truly also, there's a lot of shaming around having different type of reactions, especially when it pertains to maybe sadness. A lot of people don't even acknowledge anxiety or depression or even like anger. There's a lot of people who might not be emotionally mature enough to handle difficult discussions, so then it leaves the other person who's seeking to get it where it should really be, leaving them feeling vulnerable. So toxic nostalgia for that particular person is for them to fixate on the good as a way to cope. So how do you fix toxic nostalgia? Is, like I said, just deal with reality. It is what it is. This is the here and now. This is the moment. This is what you're facing. It's difficult, but making that decisiveness, not wishy-washy, like today you're here, tomorrow you're not here, Yes, through those moments, you might have bubbling up or different moments of dysregulation, of anxiety, of sadness, of anger even, because you're grieving different parts of that relationship. Like I said, parent-child, romantic relationship, a boss and an employee relationship can also be like that, especially if you have a difficult, toxic boss, a narcissistic boss. Some people don't like using that word, but that type. So that's toxic nostalgia, when it's hard to move past a relationship that's ended or ending, and fixating on little specks of good moments to try to continue to hang on. And being rigid in thinking and not be fluid can be defined as toxic nostalgia. And facing the reality, getting help, support to move on is what should be. All right, I'll catch you at the next video.